Topic is about charismatic leaders. Now, if you find some questions or some words basically for which you're struggling, you don't know the meaning of those words, one simple thing you can do is read around those words. You will definitely find some words which have some sort of similar meaning. I'll show you straight away. Look at that. For example, if you don't know what charisma or charismatic leaders are, well, the words around this, they give you an idea. If you don't know the meaning of eloquent, well, if you see in the next part, it says they are able to communicate, and in many parts it says communicate effectively. So one thing is you can read around the words and still get to know the meaning. Now, first question, it says the they are able to dash strong emotions in followers. So we have leaders, we have followers, and the question is on emotions. We have got four options as usual. Remove two options which don't carry any meaning or they have a distant meaning. For example, you don't enlarge emotions. You also don't lit emotions. Emotions cannot be compelled. People can be compelled. Emotions cannot be. So emotions are invoked, which means the right word would be here arouse. So you invoke emotions or provoke. Provoke in case you are trying to instigate somebody, but here we'll use the word arouse because the context suggests us the emotions are being invoked. Second question, it says it's a process. Charisma is a process. It's an interaction between the dash of the leader and followers. So look at that. The story says process between what leaders and the followers. If you read, if you read in this thing, we have just read about the qualities leaders have. So that suggests us that we should use the word qualities. Why not inheritance? Inheritance refers to something you have kind of legacy or you inherit. The story doesn't suggest anything of that sort. If you use the word developments or significances, look at the meaning that is generated. We cannot say interaction between the developments of the leaders. You can relate leader to some development work, but not developments of the leader and followers. Similarly, we cannot say significances of the leader, charismatic leader. So we can't use word significance here. So we'll use the word qualities. What kind of qualities? We have just mentioned. Eloquent is one of the able to invoke or arouse strong emotion. That's yet another quality. Question number 3. It says situation that dash for a leader. And if you read this part, this will give you a very big hint. Even if you don't know what the word should be, and look at that, all these words might sound confusing. So one thing is, if you read the next sentence, as I said, the words around this blank, you get an idea. We are looking for need in the times of crisis. Now let's go one by one. Call in. It simply means you ring somebody, ring in. Call down. Well, that means you are kind of shouting or saying something at a very at the top of your voice. It's a kind of a crime. Call off. Well, this is a very commonly used word. We often say the meeting has been called off, or something, the strike was called off. Call off means to cancel. So the right option here would be calls out. What is the meaning of calls out? Well, something that is required in sort of emergency or in a crisis, that is you call out. Question 4. Again, read carefully. It's again about followers and the leaders. And now it says and influence and persuade them dash. Now persuade, literally it means to convince, but even if you don't know, influence is a word that is more commonly or relatively more commonly used. So from the influence you can make out what is the meaning of persuade. Also when we use and, that means we are adding something of the similar nature. That gives you an idea. The conjunctions, really, they are very, very useful. Now look at that. It says influence and persuade them. We have 4 options. So following, about following, for following, or to follow. We are to choose a word that is kind of tells us that is something leaning towards the leader. So we will use the word to follow. Why to follow? To indicate some, I mean, to is a preposition we use again to establish the relation between the word or and the noun. So we'll use the word to follow here. Merely saying following or about following or for following, if you select the option for following, basically you're suggesting is for following, maybe it's a process. Then you lose the sense of the story or the essence. Look at the question number 5. It's about most politicians, particularly on a national scene. Now, again, if you read around that blank, it talks about seasoned politicians and who already have a lot of personal charisma. So we are referring to seasoned politicians who have a lot of charisma. And let's look at this option. Most politicians on the national scene dash their ability to communicate effectively. So will develop, you cannot say will develop because the story says these are the politicians who are what? Seasoned politicians, means they are already working at the national level, means they are the one who are already established. So they don't need to develop, they possibly already have it. So we cannot say will develop, or we cannot say they were developing. If you say they were developing, that also indicates possibly they were not successful in developing, or they may or they may not have achieved those qualities. So we can't say they are developing, that again shows process is continuous. So we'll choose the word have developed, this option. Why? Because they are the politicians who are working on a national level. They are seasoned, means very experienced politician in this given context. So the right option would be have developed. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll post more questions in the days to come.